Jeff Anderson here today with SuperFast Flooring. Today we're going to be installing our SuperFast Diamond. We want to ensure before any installation that all the boxes are acclimated to the climate of your house for at least 48 hours. And the way we do that is we ensure that all the boxes are open on the ends so air can move freely into the box, into the flooring, and out. What you don't want to do is take the planks out of the box. You want to leave all the planks in the box and just open the ends for circulation. The diamond wood planks is constructed of butcher block pieces of solid German white oak, all glued together like a butcher block. The plank size is 5/8 inches thick by 5 inches wide. This flooring is a click flooring, which means that it floats. Basically, the front clicks and the end joints just drop. So the end joints is a drop block system, the front is a click system. The flooring is recommended always to be a floating floor, but it can be nailed and it can be glued. But today, for our installation purpose, we are going to float the floor. Prior to installation, we have to ensure that the subfloor is level. It has to be level within a 3/16 of an inch over an 8-foot span. And the easiest way to do that is just purchase a 4-foot level. You know that 2 of these are 8 feet. So when you're laying the level to the floor, if you see any type of a gap that's over an 1/8 of an inch, you're probably going to have a problem. But as you can see, this is laying flat and the bubble is right in the center. So our floor is level. Now the subfloor that I am standing on has a room underneath that is air conditioned and heated. So number one thing to consider is, what do we need? Well, we really don't need a moisture barrier because there's not going to be any moisture going from floor to floor. But if we were standing on a subfloor that had a basement that was not air conditioned or heated, we would need a vapor barrier. And a vapor barrier is basically a thin piece of plastic that doesn't allow any moisture to penetrate through it. If we were standing on a subfloor that is concrete, then we would definitely need a vapor barrier. The Quiet Walk has a moisture barrier. It also has some noise reduction to the pad. So this is the product we're going to use today. Anytime we do a run that's greater than 30 feet, we will need a T-mold. And what a T-mold actually does is allows the wood between other woods or other surfaces to expand and contract freely. And what I mean by that is the wood plank itself will go underneath the T-mold and be able to move freely as it expands and contracts, so you won't have any type of buckling in your wood flooring. When installing a T-mold, on the reverse side, you will only need to glue the T itself, not the sides where the wood flooring would be contracting and expanding. The easiest way to install a T-mold or any type of transaction is with a caulk gun. And I always recommend something simple like liquid nails. Liquid nails, if you read the back, says clean up mineral spirits. And you can apply it with just a simple caulk gun. Stair nose is the very first tread going down the stairs. We want to make sure that this is secure. We want to glue it and nail it. We want to use a glue that's urethane based, and we want to caulk it onto the back side of that. We know that we do not want to click this in because it's not made to be clicked into any type of flooring. The stair nose needs to be nailed and glued separately by itself. So now we're ready for the undercut. I picked up a simple tool, it's called a multi-tool, and I put a blade on there that is used for metal or wood. And the reason I use this blade is even though that the casing is made of wood, there may be a nail that I'm going to hit, and I want to be able to cut through that nail as well. And what we want to do today is do an undercut to where this plank will slide under the casing, and during the expansion and compression of this wood, it's going to be able to slide back and forth under the casing without any problems. So we just turn the blade on. So we've taken the plank, a cut sample of a plank, and we used it as a measurement for the undercut itself. We used it as a guide. Now that the undercut is complete, all we have to do is vacuum this out and be able to measure and tuck this underneath the casing itself. So we've got the plank, the first plank laid here, and we're ready to figure out the measurements to slide the plank underneath the case molding. We know that the plank has to be a 1/2 inch off of the current threshold. So we're going to take a couple measurements to figure out how much to notch this end piece out for this plank to be slid underneath the casing. Also leaving a 1/2 inch off the base molding to the right of it. So we know that we're going to have to slide this forward enough that leave a 1/2 inch gap here, and 1/2 inch gap here. So what I used to do is I just measured the distance from the threshold to this. It's 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to measure this out to 1 3/4 inches, 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to notch it out to where it is going to slide under, leaving enough for expansion as well. Now that I've taken my measurements, I'm going to go ahead and just take my right angle and draw the notch that I will be cutting. So this is the area that I am going to notch out with the jigsaw. We're a 1/2 inch off of this base molding, and we're a 1/2 inch off the left wall base molding. And this should just go right into place. There we go. And as you can see, the casing will sit right on top of the plank, but the plank is able to move freely. We went ahead and measured the opening of the casing from jamb to jamb and cut our T-mold to those measurements. And now we're able to just place the T-mold into place and have a 1/2 inch off the base, 1/2 inch off of here, enough expansion space for movement underneath the T-mold, and we're done. Now, before we nail and glue the bottom of this T-mold into place, we're going to go ahead and run a couple runs before we do that process. So now that we've got the T-mold in place and our first plank in place, the distance from the base molding to the tongue of the little part that we notched out, we need to measure and rip a full plank that width, tongue side facing towards the opposite direction of the wall. And the end joints basically just drop. So if you can see that, we're going to line that up and just drop it into place. Now what's going to hold that joint together is the next plank, which we're going to work on now. Now we do know that the joints have to be staggered at least 6 inches apart in order for the integrity and the structure of the fold down to hold. So after we placed our first plank and did our rip cut for the second, third, and fourth piece that's going to go along the edge of the wall, we're going to go ahead and start our second row. The second row, we're going to go ahead and it just basically easily clicks into place like this. The second row for the next piece will actually go into play, and we have to make sure that it also clicks in to the piece that we just placed on the wall. There we go, and none of it is forced, as you can see. It just clicks into place. And then we'll start our third row the same. Now that we've ripped the first row evenly and stretched it down to the end of the run, we applied the second row, and now we're going to have to make a cut at the end of the row, and there's a quick, easy trick to cutting the end pieces. We know that the tongue is facing you, so we take the next plank that we're going to cut, the place in here, have the tongue facing us, and just flip the board over, tongue is still towards us, put the tongue against the wall, pull it off a 1/2 inch, and measure and make a mark at the edge of the surface of the board that you're going to join together, and make that mark. We're going to cut this board at this mark, flip it back over, and it will fit right into this hole. Instead of using a chop saw or a table saw, this product will rip the boards and cut the boards at any angle and a straight right angle cut. So the piece that we just marked, we have a marking here, and we want to lay this flooring exactly upside down. This particular saw, the blade runs this way, so you're going to cut from the bottom that's inverted to get a nice clean cut on the surface. Now the piece that we just cut on the saw is easily placed and locked into place. So our third row will start on the left side of the wall. I'm going to work our way down again. Now if you notice, the last row that we did, we have a joint right here. So we can start the third row to the left of this joint, or the next joint has to be to the left of it at least 6 inches away, or 6 inches away to the right. And I am going to prefer going 6 inches to the right. So once again, tongue is towards you. We're going to flip it 1/2 inch against off the wall. Here's the joint. We're going to go at least 6 inches. So I'm just going to eyeball it and bring it out to about 12 inches and mark it right here. Now I know that my joint is at least 12 inches away and minimum is 6. I'm going to go and make this cut just like I did before. So we've taken our piece, cut the end. Now we're going to flip it back over, tongue towards us, 1/2 inch against the wall, off the wall, and we click it into place, and it should just fold into place. As we're laying the planks, you will notice there is a tape on the back side of each plank, and the tape reads Safeguard Pro System, do not remove. What this tape is for is to put a barrier between this flooring and the flooring that you're clicking together. If you didn't have the tape, the two flooring, as you step on the flooring, may move a little and you'll hear a squeak. This barrier will help wood on wood from rubbing against each other, preventing squeaking. So do not remove it. We're in a situation where we're going down just nice and smooth, but one of the planks is giving me trouble. It's not enough to where we want to throw the piece out. So what I'm going to show you a little trick here. Instead of forcing it with your hand, the scrap piece that we cut, we're going to use that scrap piece, and we're going to have this at an angle, about a 10 to 20 degree lift, and we want to hit it with the hammer, the scrap piece, because hitting this is not going to hurt the actual plank, because you've engaged this side here the whole length of the plank. Now what I'm going to do is pop it in place, and now it lays flat. What I'm doing is I'm beating my scrap piece, but not hurting the part that's engaging into the wood. Okay, we're at the point where we want to put our second roll of quiet walk down to continue on with this flooring installation. The quiet walk does not come with a self-adhesive tape attached to the pad, so we're going to have to join the two pads together, and we do this by using duct tape. But the first thing we want to do is go ahead and roll it out, and you want to make sure that the blue side is up, and it's pretty simple to roll out. And as you can see, we've laid our second, and you continue all the way down. The duct tape is fairly easy to cut with a blade, and there you go. So now we've installed the flooring in the main area, and we're coming into an area that we want to flow the flooring from the main area into the closet area without a transition. So how do we do that? We're going to have to work around this casing here, and to do that we sort of have to install and pre-plan and work a little backwards. I know typically we work left to right, but in this situation we're going to have to work right to left in a couple spots just to do some measuring. around this door casing. So the first piece that we want to cut out is we want to ensure that we have a tongue on the right, because as we continue on, we're going to have to lay on this tongue. You have to have a tongue on the front. I notched this out so I can slide this under the casing. So what we're going to do is engage it into the flooring and just basically slide it under the jamb, just like that. That's only going to be there temporarily as we measure from this point. Now, going backwards, we're going to have to go ahead and cut out the next piece, which I have right here that I've notched. It's going to go underneath this jamb. This has got to interlock with this, of course, and we're just going to slide it into place until I have an alignment right here. This is going to allow me to figure out what piece and the measurement of that piece to be ripped right along the back side of this base molding, which I've already done. This is the piece, and it's about 3 inches. I also have to go underneath the jamb as well, so I measured that out, and this will basically go under this jamb on the back side. Now, of course, we can't click this into this backwards, so this is just for measurement purposes. And then to the wall, I went ahead and cut that piece as well, which will end up going down this way. And then I cut the final front piece with the tongue sticking out, and I cut it on the left-hand side to join this piece. So we're gonna figure out how to join all these pieces next. Basically, we're gonna take the back pieces off, and we're gonna take these 2 pieces and just slide them forward. Here we go. Then we're gonna put the back pieces and align that to where we know the edge of this is going to slide right in. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out just a little bit. And then we're going to take this piece and just push it right on top of that. And there you go. So now we're going to continue the run. And as you can see, as I'm putting this in, I have a little problem with this piece not lining up 100%. And sometimes what happens, the wood as it settles, it sort of moves a little because it is a natural product and it has a tendency to move or to warp or bend just a little. So we're going to bend it back in place, but what we don't want to do is pound on this and break the click mechanism. So we always recommend using just a piece, a sample piece that you're not going to use again in this regard. You're going to basically put it right here, get a rubber mallet, and have it at an angle, not forcing it downwards, but at an angle, and this will engage. And there you go. It just laid into place. We'll go ahead and put the next piece on as well, and we might have to do the same thing again, which we do. See, the piece is not going down as we like, so we're going to have to use this again, and boom, it's down. Went down easy, and we're now down to our last section against the wall. Show you how we're going to handle that. So as you can see, I'm working 2 rows at once, and I'm down to the end here, left to right against this baseboard. So I'm going to have to do some measuring and some cutting. I'm going to use this saw that I purchased at the store. It's pretty cool. It enables you to move it around. It's light. You can rip cut it. You can angle cut it. You can do a straight right angle cut. So I've got it set up to where we're just going to cut a straight right angle cut. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is take the plank, have the tongue towards you, have the tongue on the right as we always talked about. And instead of measuring from here to here, we're going to flip this board upside down, and we're going to measure from the back side of here, 1/2 inch off And we're going to go ahead and measure and place a mark right along the top edge of that top surface. We're going to put our glasses on. We're going to cut it. And there you go. Nice and easy.